Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sim's YouTube channel, and welcome back to a familiar sight as I stand here in a field looking at oats. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode number 6. Thanks for coming back. I'm going to bump our time up just a smidge there. Let's run at 5x for right now. Yeah, we're back where we were standing maybe 2 episodes ago in an oat field that is growing, fertilized 100%. There are no weeds at all. So we are going to see what happens. We are running slow growth mode, but I have a feeling that this is a bug, that what I've been sort of, either it's a bug or it was just not thought out very well in just the dynamics of the base game growth cycles and everything. And I say that because I've been playing a couple of times on a multiplayer server hosted by Duckzorly, and he was kind of talking about this yesterday, last time I was on the server, and sort of experiencing the same thing. And I think he's bumped the growth cycle down on the server to low as well, just in an effort to try to, I guess, kind of understand how the whole weed infestation and all that kind of stuff works with the growth cycle and everything, because from what he was saying, unless I misunderstood what he was saying, but I believe from what he was saying, he was experiencing the same thing that I was. Basically, there's no weeds when you check the field like we just did, and you go off and you do something, you know, either on your farm or do a contract or whatever, and maybe you're running at a little bit accelerated time, maybe 5x, 15x, whatever, and all of a sudden weed infestation goes to 100%, and the growth, the cycle, or the growth of the plant matures and goes to ready to harvest. And of course, that doesn't allow you to do anything with the weeds. You can't run the weeder if you've got low weed infestation, and of course you can't spray herbicide if the crop is already fully grown. So you know, we'll see. This is the first chance that I've had to play with fields fully planted in the way that they are, and low growth, or the slow growth mode. That's what the word I'm looking for. So let's see, what did I just, I must have hit something. Don't know what it was. I don't think it was a car. Anyway, hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Now we are going to continue our work here for Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez over on, what am I hanging on? Let's see, what am I, oh, maybe I need to, Jerry, maybe it helps if you lift your back implement. There we go. All right. So Mr. Ramirez, you might know Mr. Ramirez. He lives up and owns field number 11. So he has a fertilizing job that we're doing, basically on field number 11. This was the same field that Billy Bob, I believe, cultivated yesterday. So we can fertilize this with liquid, solid, slurry, or manure. And we're using our own equipment, as you can see. So I'm going to run in the store right quick, and I'm going to purchase some liquid fertilizer. Now, I'm going to show you a little tip, something that I learned just with actually the, let me see. Let's go ahead and do this. See, I wish that we could buy multiples of these within this screen without having to kind of go back and do this again. And we're gonna start with 3 and see how that fills our tanks up. But if you look over to the right, you will see some seed and some fertilizer. I think that's 1 bag of seed and three fertilizer bags, and I'm not sure what the capacity or how full those are. I know they're not full, but that is what we had left over, or maybe it was seeding. Did we seed yesterday? Is that what Billy Bob did? Anyway, yeah, maybe it was a seeding contract that we did. In any event, we rented, you might remember that we rented that equipment, and as a result of that, we brought the equipment back here to the store. Instead of dismissing the equipment on the field, we basically brought the equipment back here to the store, and we emptied those the seeds and the fertilizer, because we had purchased it. So it, in in all sense of the words, it is ours. It belongs to us. Now, whether we used all of that on Mr. Ramirez's field is really sort of beside the point. And I don't view this as cheating, and I don't view it as a bug in the way that the game is programmed. Because again, if we say to Mr. Ramirez, okay, we're going to seed your field number 11. We're going to do that for you for $23,000 or whatever, and we're basically saying that's what our labor is, and we'll provide the materials, and anything that you have left over is just yours. So the reason why I pulled that back to the shop was because it's a little bit quicker for me to get to the shop from my farm than it would be for me to get to Mr. Ramirez's field from my farm, because we've got this hill that's in the way and everything. And even though there is a road, it's just a lot easier and quicker for me to get to the shop. So that's just something, food for thought, especially if you are playing in a career, starving farmer kind of mode, where every penny counts for you. If you do these contracts and you're buying the seeds and the fertilizer and everything, if you dismiss, or if you more or less confirm that you are complete with the mission and you've leased the equipment, then the equipment's going to disappear on you, essentially at the field, and you're not going to have a chance to get that to basically get that material out of your seeder or your sprayer or whatever the case might be. So just a helpful tip from your old friend Grizzly Bear Sims. But I have been having a lot of good fun on the multiplayer server by Duckzorly, and it's performing really nice. I've got to say that if I decide to start up a multiplayer server, and I certainly might, if I decide to do that, I will definitely be hosting that at the company that he is hosting that multiplayer server from, because it is nice performance. I get a pretty good ping rate from my location. Now he may obviously have it tuned for better performance for Asia, obviously, since that's where, or Australia, that side of the world, since that's where he is from. But pretty good ping rate, and so I'm really having fun with sort of the concept that they're doing over there. I have just mainly been working for my friend Chris, who is a friend of the channel, a longtime viewer of the channel, and he is running a horse farm there on this map, actually, Ravenport. Duckzorly has it divided up into multiple farms, so multiple players own farms, and another friend of our channel, DC, owns a farm over there on the server. And so yeah, I'll probably just been working for Chris the last couple of times that I've joined the server, but I'm a free agent, so I can whoever needs some help, I'm your guy. I can certainly help you out. So not sure what sort of yield we're going to get off of this unit. This is probably a fairly large field for us to be using this small of equipment, but I kind of wanted to maximize our money as best as possible. And so by using our own equipment, we're gonna make an additional, I don't know, $1,800. I can't remember what the cost was for leasing the equipment. And of course, leasing equipment, one thing that I've noticed is leasing equipment for contract work is a lot cheaper than leasing equipment for your own personal work. I have to watch out for the train, because if it comes through now, even though we haven't tested it in FarmSim 17, it would cause your tractor, your implement, or whatever you might be in, it would cause it to go to the other side of the map possibly. But anyway, the leasing costs are a lot cheaper, and so but the and this setup is just fine. And of course Uncle Cletus almost forgot his name. Uncle Cletus doesn't mind us using our own equipment in this way. I mean, essentially, I own all the equipment on the farm. That was sort of part of the deal, and even though Uncle Cletus is in an advisory capacity and everything, he's about making money as well, and he sees the value if all of our chores are done, if our farm is running at a good clip and everything, all the work is done and everything. He doesn't have a problem with us coming over and doing work for other farmers, because a lot of these folks are people that he has known for many, many years. And the Ramirez family has been in this part of the country for decades, for generations. And so we enjoy doing work and helping each other out, because if times get tough and we need the help for whatever that might be, then obviously the Ramirez family has always been there for us, and we'll always be there for them. So this will be somewhat slow go, probably. I don't think we'll get this job done in this video, because of obviously we've got a little bit shorter working width than we would need to do for optimum work on this farm. But again, we agreed to do it for a cost, and that cost has worked out well for us, and also for Mr. Ramirez as well. I know over the last couple of episodes I've been sort of talking about my viewpoints of Farm Sim 19, and of course you all have been leaving your comments and things that you think about the game in the comment section of the videos, and I appreciate that. That's what this is all about. Often if I don't do a role play, or if I sort of segue away from role playing and I start talking about events of the day, or events, the game situation with the game or whatever, I value your opinions, and I will never ever censor anything that you say, pending that it's not hateful, hurtful, or completely off topic or character. I mean, obviously if folks start coming in trying to promote their own YouTube channels, or they leave hateful, hurtful, spiteful type commentary or anything, and that can be directed towards me, or it can be directed towards anybody. I mean, we're not gonna tolerate any sort of form of hate or anything. But I do welcome your opinions, and that's just it. Everyone has their own opinion about the condition of this game, the status of this game, their experience with this game. And I really truly believe that even though for me, and for many of the people that I have interacted with, either on multiplayer servers for Farm Sim 19, or just in conversation like on Discord and stuff, the majority of people really do have a positive view of Farm Sim 19. There are a few niggling little issues that folks are having. Oftentimes these are often can be sort of grouped together as somewhat being the same thing. I mean, I know that I think we've all pretty much encountered the bugs with getting our controllers working, maybe getting the full features of our controllers. So I mean, there's still some issues, I believe, with defining button sets, button presses and everything. The Logitech controller, the G27 that I have, I've got about 6 buttons. I've got 6 buttons on my steering wheel. I've got the paddle shifters, which interestingly enough, by default, the paddle shifters, which I would set it up this way anyway, do work by default as my turn signals. So the right paddle shifter obviously works the right blinker, and then the left one obviously works the left one. And that was set up that way out of the box. I did not do anything to change that. But and then of course on my shifter, I've got 4, 8, and sort of a toggle switch thing. So multiple assignments that I usually configure within the game, within Farm Sim, but those are sort of non-functioning. So there are some issues that multiple people are experiencing, and then there's some one-offs where folks have more or less the same kind of setup, and they're experiencing things that are almost totally different. And of course, I suppose start looking at different things that could be going on behind the scenes. Are you running Windows 10, or are you running Windows 7? Or is your Windows 10 fully patched? Are you updated on all the various drivers for your video card, your sound card? Are you running the correct version in the case of Logitech controllers and everything? Are you running the correct version of the are you running the correct version of the profiler? Those kind of stuff. And then of course then you have to start digging into the conversation about, okay, well, what other mods are you running? What have you installed recently that may or may not have been the culprit to the problem that you're experiencing? And I know I've said this a couple of times on some of the previous videos here on FarmSim 19, that there are a number of mods that are out there that are absolute junk, ladies and gentlemen. And these things supposedly, certainly claim to be, advertised to be, conversions from FarmSim 17 mods, and they're not anything. I don't even think they've spent the time to even probably crack open the shell and even take a look at it. There's some that have some malware and some other little bugbears mixed in with that you want to stay away from. And but for the most part, they're just absolute junk. And because of that, because of the fact that they're most likely going to throw errors, because FarmSim 19 will look at it, will look at the mod, because obviously you've put it in there and you've activated it, if it even shows up in your mod selection. But FarmSim 19 will most likely look at it, but if they haven't adjusted all the inner workings of the mod, whether it be script based or whatever, then obviously it's going to throw errors if there are commands and instructions and everything within that mod that's different than what FarmSim 19 uses. So my point in saying all this is that if you are having problems, and especially if you are having problems that may not have that actually may not have existed on day one with your game, and then my guess is your I don't have access. Okay. Your culprit, your issue is probably going to be found within your mod folder, and my suggestion would be to essentially remove any suspect mods that you may have in there, and then maybe start adding them one at a time. You can rule out, I think it's very safe to say that regardless of whether we're at this state of the game, this stage of the game, or even a year from now, year and a half from now, it's fairly safe to say that your mods that you're getting from the Giants Mod Hub are going to be okay. Those have been tested. Now I suppose that there's always a scenario where something kind of gets through and there's an issue, maybe there's a conflict with another mod or something, but for the most part I think those are fairly always safe. But of course, you can have a conflict with a mod, and you can even have a conflict with a mod that you may not even think you're using, that you have in your mod folder. If you're not separating your mod folders by map, you might have a scenario where you've got a mod and you're not using it. You don't want to use it on that particular map, but as a result of it being in your mod folder, it could throw and cause errors with other active mods. And so of course there has always been, going back to FarmSim, at least with my experience coming into this with FarmSim 15, there's always been those that have said, you need to maintain separate mod folders for each of your maps. Now I started out doing that in FarmSim 17, and I suppose maybe it was a little bit of my own stubbornness, supposedly. I guess if you ask me, I'll tell you I'm not stubborn at all. But talk to my wife, and you will most likely get a completely different answer from her. But out of my own stubbornness, I suppose I sort of thought, okay, well, let me just test the waters here and just see if I can get by with just using one mod folder, and more or less started throwing all the mods into that one mod folder, and never really suffered any negative impact in doing that. And even to the very last days of FarmSim 17, I was running with a mod folder that had well over 100 mods in them, including maps. Of course, Giants put into FarmSim 17 after the initial release of it, where it would not show you multiple maps in your mod folder, so you didn't have to worry about double selecting maps. But I sort of at the end, probably maybe the last year of FarmSim 17's use for me, I just kept all my mods in the same mod folder, never had any problems. Well, I've gone back to essentially grouping my mods in the maps in which I'm using them, and I will just very quickly, let me just put the escape key there so I can bring my map over. So here's my Farming Simulator 2019 folder where everything is installed, and you can see I've got two mods folders. I've got my main mods folder, which is mods, which is active for this game, and then I've got my mods for the Duckzorly multiplayer server. And all I really do, and all that you really need to do to switch back and forth, is just basically when I exit out of the game, and if I want to go to Duckzorly's multiplayer server, I will rename the mods folder that is currently called mods. I will just rename that to mods underscore GBS and maybe Raven, just so that I know that that's my Ravenport map, and then I will rename mods DZMP just to mods. And then whenever I want to switch back, then I just more or less do the same thing. And hopefully we haven't been pouring fertilizer all into one spot there. I should have perhaps shut that off. In just 1 second here, I'm going to do one thing. We're going to tab down to the main farm because we just want to take a look and see. Okay, so we're still 100% growing, growing, 100% fertilized, and 0% weeds. So just wanted to kind of keep an eye on that and see how that goes. So that's just some food for thought with regards to that. Now, all the other things, Windows updates and stuff like that, there can be, adverse effects to various games because the games are calling on different DLLs and stuff like that that may or may not be part of Windows or maybe part of the game itself. But there can always be some little issues, little niggling type of bugs and stuff that could result in some issues that you would experience if not everything is perfect the way that Giants and FarmSim 19 is expecting it to be. And that's why I typically just one more second here so that I can see my OBS. There we go. I typically cringe when it comes time to taking a GPU graphics update from NVIDIA. I typically don't run on the latest and greatest graphics drivers for my 1080 Ti. I almost intentionally run at least one, if not two, updates behind. And the reason for that is it gives me a little bit of time to read some of the forums and kind of keep my ear to the pavement, so to speak, so that if I start hearing other folks talking about, not necessarily my friends, of course, but if I start reading about things on Facebook or whatever that, XYZ update that was released on, last week or whatever is having problems with FarmSim or with FlightSim or whatever, then, I sort of know. But I did go ahead and update my graphics drivers in advance of FarmSim 19's release, just so that, because I figured that's the most, this is going to be the game that I'm going to play the most for the next couple of weeks. And I sort of figured, okay, well, Giants is designing and engineering and everything based on the latest and greatest stuff, so I should have the best luck with it. And I really cannot complain about anything that I'm experiencing with 19 as far as stuff that's graphical in nature. I think my GPU is running this thing perfectly. I think all other components of my system are well designed for this game, or the game is well designed for them. And really and truthfully, it's the controller issues for me. Now I am experiencing something that is a little bit odd in the sense that from my level of understanding with how FarmSim 19 gets information based on your like your wheel settings, and I'm talking about like your dead zone, null zone, whatever you want to call it. It should very well be the same regardless of whether you are playing single player or multiplayer, but I get two different experiences depending on which mode I'm playing. And of course right now we're doing single player, and my null zone for my tractor is set correctly. It's at 2% is what I set it at, and I think 15 is the default, or maybe 18, but I'd worked my way down to about 10, 8 or so, and finally settled and leveled off at 2%, and I found that that was perfect. I could drive and everything was fine. In multiplayer, with the same, making the assumption that the settings are the same, basically it's almost as if like I've had an entire bottle of whiskey and gin and some vodka, and then got behind the wheel of a tractor and trying to drive down the road. It's just a little bit chaotic. So hopefully, if that is a bug, and I can't imagine why it wouldn't be, that is something different between single player and multiplayer as far as controllers go. Hopefully that will get sorted out sooner rather than later. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up on, I need to grab my screenshot, don't I? We are coming up on our 30-minute window here that we like to try to stick to. We'll put the train in the background there. We're not obviously going to get this field finished unless I carry over. And I don't even know if we will have enough fertilizer, so we may have to go back to the store to get some more of that. Of course, we've already purchased it, so it's not going to further limit our profits or anything. And then, of course, the reason why I did that again was to demonstrate that if you purchase your product and everything for the mission or for the contract, if you have any left over, obviously you can use that. Or if you if you can't fill up your attachment, your sprayer or whatever, if you can't get all of it in there, then obviously it's still yours. So either bring a trailer up and get it and take it back to your main farm, or perhaps just consider leaving it at the store. And if you do another mission, and if you use either your own equipment or even if you lease the equipment, obviously you still have to buy the material for it, the spray or seed or whatever, and so you'll have it there. And that will just kind of save you just a little bit of time and everything. So yeah, of course, still looking forward to a lot of the mods and everything coming out. Of course, I think that's what everybody is sort of itching for, is mods. In the multiplayer, we were joking that we're all sort of struggling to plant and seed and everything in straight lines, fertilize in straight lines, and there could be gaps and all this kind of stuff because we're really truly missing mods like GPS and of course drive control and follow me. I mean, follow me has been one that I have actually, well, drive control is probably my number one mod that I miss the most. As far as simple type mods, and I'm not saying that it's simple as in anyone could create it. I'm just saying that it's not near as complex as, say, seasons or course play. So therefore, I would think that drive control could, if somebody redeveloped it, because I don't think that we'll see it from the original mod creator and everything. So we should, hopefully somebody will recreate that mod for us. But that's probably the one that I'm missing the most. And then a very close second and maybe third to that, and perhaps they're tied, would be of course GPS and follow me, because moving equipment, setting up your farm and everything, having to move each particular piece of equipment one by one, it can certainly be sped up. That process can be sped up with with Follow Me, because you can just basically get all of your stuff in kind of a convoy. And of course, it can even be made a little bit simpler, even using Courseplay. When Courseplay comes out for 19, just like I did with 17, I will often set up a course from the store to the main farm area. And you do it once, you record the course once, and then you can literally just get into vehicles at the store and select that course, and tell it to stop at the last waypoint, and basically just start sending your equipment to your main farm from the store. And so that will also help you on maps, especially like this, where your reset point is at the store as well. And of course, it's nice. I like when a map modder places the reset point at your main farm area, because that way you can kind of storyline it out and say, oh, here comes the rain. You can sort of storyline it out and say, you're having the equipment delivered versus going and getting it yourself, which is kind of cool. And then also it just makes it a lot easier for trying to find where your stuff and everything is. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, the rain has started. Of course, I don't believe there's any limitation at all to what we're doing. We can continue to work. We can continue to spray our fertilizer, our liquid fertilizer here. We might not do this in the real world, but again, kind of what I was talking about yesterday with the oats and everything. We just kind of go through the motions because the game allows us to do it. And of course, we want to get this mission completed because we've got about $15,000 on the line that we're going to make from Mr. Ramirez on doing this job. So I wanted to thank you for watching. When we come back for the next episode, and that'll be episode number 7, and I'm not sure when you're going to see that. It kind of depends on how how many videos I can make, and I want to try to at least stick to a three release video per week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But you could have some bonus stuff from time to time, I suppose. But when we come back together, we'll take a look and see how those fields have fared on our main farm, and whether or not we can maybe do a little bit of weeding, because I would like to experience that. I would even like to spray some herbicide as well, just to enjoy the new features of our wonderful new game. So until then, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching my videos. I'm about to run out of liquid fertilizer here, so we'll have to go back to the store and top one of these tanks up, and then come back and finish this for Mr. Ramirez, and I'll update you all on that progress and everything when that occurs. And again, until next time, please take good care of yourself and also of each other. God bless you all, and hope you're getting your Christmas shopping done, folks. The days are slowly, actually more than slowly, the days are quickly passing by, and you'll want to make sure that you get your favorite people in the world something, so they have something to unwrap under the tree. So God bless you all. Take good care of yourself, and hey, look out for those furry, fuzzy animals as well, and give them a scratch on their heads. We'll talk to you on the next episode. Bye bye for now.